بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وبارك على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. موسى Alhamdulillah, we have reached next chapter we should discuss. Which next chapter we should discuss, which is Bab al-Juʿālah, and this is referring to the reward. So a person attaining reward for a particular act, and the author raḥimahullah, he mentions وهي أن يقول من رد لقطتي أو ضالتي أو بنى لي هذا الحائط فله كذا. And so the person says, for example, that whoever returns to me that which I've displaced or I've lost, or whoever builds this wall for me, then in exchange I will give them so and so. I'll give them something in exchange. فمن فعل ذلك استحق الجعل. And so whoever does so is deserving of that particular reward to be given. And so the proof of that is the hadith of Abū Saʿīd al-Khudrī, أن قوما لدغ الرجل منهم فأتوا أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالوا هل فيكم من راق؟ فقالوا لا حتى تجعلوا لنا شيئا. فجعلوا لهم قطيعا من الغنم، فجعل رجل منهم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب يرقي ويدفل حتى برئ، فأخذوا الغنم وسألوا عن ذلك النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال وما يدريكم أنها رقية، خذوا واضربوا لي معكم بسهم. And so this hadith of Abū Saʿīd al-Khudrī anhu is a hadith which mentions, as a hadith which is muttafaqan alayhi, and a hadith which is found in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. And it mentions that some of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by a man, and he had been bitten. He had received a bite. Essentially, what is understood from this is that it was a poisonous bite, scorpion bite. And they asked, "Hal fikum min raqin?" Is anyone from amongst you that can recite of the ruqyah? And they stated, no, until you give us something in return. So something as to compensate for the action. And so they placed as that compensation, a portion from amongst their sheep. And so one of the men, one of the companions, began reciting from Surah al-Fātiḥah, Fatihatul Kitab, performing the ruqyah, the recitation of the ruqyah, and along with that, the spittles that are done. When a person yarqi, he makes the spittles with the mouth as well, until the person was relieved of the ailment. And then they took from the sheep, and then they asked the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about that particular action. And then he mentions, how is it that you know it was the ruqyah that did this? That killed the man. whilst take from the sheep and hand to me a portion of them from amongst them. This particular narration here, barakallahu feekum, first and foremost, the reason why it's mentioned in this chapter by the author, Ibn Qudāmah, raḥimahullah, is that it illustrates the permissibility of the permissibility of taking something in reward for a particular action or recompense for a particular action. Need to be compensated for it. As for this particular action itself, which was the ruqyah, then the scholars, they explain that this hadith is a proof that the ruqyah can be, a person can perform ruqyah and take something in return for it. So a person can perform ruqyah and take something in return for it. However, some of the scholars mention the qaid, or the shart, the condition. From them, Shaykh Rabi', hafidhahullāh, he mentions, based upon this hadith, they can only take something on the condition that the person is cured. For indeed, this person in this narration, he was alleviated of the ailment, he was cured. So this is why he can take it. Likewise, what we understand from this particular narration as well is that it cannot be now stipulated as a form of transaction, where a person states, for example, he has particular prices for the ruqyah, which is something that you see is widespread now, this time that we live in now. Where a person will say, for example, in order to perform the ruqyah, I will charge X amount. Naam. And lil-asaf, al-shadid, it's sad to say, but what you find is that people start to make a living out of this and take advantage of the desperation of the people. Because if a person now, first and foremost, is feels the need for ruqyah, then generally it's because they have some form of ailment where it's causing difficulty in their life and wreaking havoc upon their lives. So for example, if it's possession of jinn, jinn possession, then of course these shayateen can be mischievous and cause damage to people's lives and harm in people's lives, to the extent that the people start to feel a degree of desperation. And then what you find is that these individuals take advantage of that desperation and start to charge. For example, I know of a case where an individual, he started to suffer from waswas, severe waswas, to the extent that he had memorized about 20 juz' from the Quran, and due to the waswas and due to the fact that he was just busied himself with these thoughts and the wasabs of the shaitan, he started to slowly forget these ayat and ajza. And along with that, he started to seclude himself in the house, because due to the fact that when he left the house, anything that would occur outside the house, he would have waswas regarding it. Ala kulli hal, they went to one individual, because his family were concerned about him. They took him to an individual raqi, or one that was a claimed raqi, reciter of Quran, performed ruqyah. And he said, after assessment, that you are suffering from waswas, you're suffering from ayn, the evil eye, and we fear that it may be upon the rest of your family. So we need to read upon the rest of your family. And so in this scenario here, what did he do? Except that he said that you need to bring every single member of your family. Now, every single member of your family for me to read on them, and I charge per head. So he said, you have to come back with your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your brothers' wives, your sisters' husbands, your brothers' children, your sisters' children, and I'll charge per head. This now, of course, this is a clear example of a person taking advantage of the desperation of a person's situation and the family's desperation to seek a cure for their loved one. What we say in response to actions such as these, barakallahu feekum, is the first thing is that the ruqyah, the best form of ruqyah is the one that the person does themselves. The best form of ruqyah is where the person recites upon themselves. And as we know from the hadith of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, from amongst the 70,000 that will enter Jannah bila adhab, bila hisab wala adhab, without being brought to reckoning nor punishment, are those that do not seek ruqyah. I seek someone to recite over them. And this is due to the fact that they have quwwat al-tawakkul. They have the strength of that tawakkul ala Allah. They have the strength when it comes to their trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they trust that Allah ta'ala will grant them success. And so that they recite upon themselves. And they strive to do that as much as they can upon themselves. That's the first thing, barakallahu feekum. The second thing that we say in response is, again, this particular hadith. This particular hadith, these men from amongst the companions did not receive anything in return until it had been established that this person had been alleviated of the ailment. And even if it was to be said that the person would perform the ruqyah and he receives something and it's not a condition that they are cured, because this is another position as well. There's not a condition that they're cured. This is not something which is stipulated. Rather, the person may offer something to do so. The person may offer, either one that is receiving the ruqyah, the patient, let's say, they may receive, or they may offer something to the araqi. The next point I want to mention this particular narration as well, barakallahu feekum, is that this man, as is mentioned within other nusus, this man that was recited upon was not a Muslim. Now, the man that was recited upon was not a Muslim. And so this is a proof as well that ruqyah can be performed upon the non-Muslim. And so the ruqyah is not now just something which is solely for the Muslim. A person can perform the ruqyah upon a non-Muslim, and it's possible as well that the person performs the ruqyah, and this could also be a means of the da'wah for the individual. For a person sees or hears the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may see some effect from his ayat, some positive effect from his ayat. And also this can be a means of da'wah for that person. And Allah ta'ala knows best. Thereafter, the author, Ibn Qudāmah, raḥimahullāh, he goes on to mention that in relation to coming across that which has been lost, so the valuable that has been lost, قبل أن يبلغه الجعل لم يستحقه. So if a person comes across now something which has been lost before he's made aware of any reward for it, then he must return it. He's not deserving of it, nor is he deserving of the rewards. Now we'll mention the lost items shortly, inshallah. So if a person comes across a lost item, he cannot now take that item. He's not deserving of the item, nor is he deserving of any reward for finding the item. Now, was he just come across it? The reward essentially is for the person that goes out of their way to seek out the item, and thus due to that finds it. The person goes out of their way, seeks the item and finds it. Then in that regard, he may receive some form of reward. Now I may receive some form of reward. Is that clear, barakallahu feekum? Now, after that we have the chapter Bab al-Luqaṭah. Wal-Luqṭah is referring to these particular or these items that have been misplaced or lost. And what is the mu'amala? What is the dealing with them? Like how are they treated? And the author, raḥimahullah, he mentioned وَهِيَ عَلَى ثَلَاثَةِ أَضْرَبٍ. وَهِيَ عَلَى ثَلَاثَةِ أَضْرَبٍ. So there are three types. There are three types of commodity that is lost. أحدها, one of them, ما تقل قيمته فيجوز أخذه وانتفاع به من غير تعريف. And so a person, the first type, barakallahu feekum, is in relation to that which is low, that's something that has a low amount when it comes to its value, low in value. And so if it's low in value, then the person, it's permissible for the person to take it and benefit from it and use it without seeking out who owns it. Naam. The proof of that being the hadith of Jābir ibn Abdullah, hadith of Jābir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhuma, where there's a hadith which is found in Sunan Abi Dawud. Hadith mentioned in Sunan Abi Dawud, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam رخص لنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في العصا والصوت وأشباهه يلتقط الرجل ينتفع به. And so the hadith of Jābir mentions that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he permitted for us the use of the staff, and the stick, or the whip, or anything that is like that, if a person comes across it. So a person, he discovers it, he comes across it, then it's permissible for the person to use it. Now, permissible for the person to use it. So if it's something which is low in value, regardless of being something which is low in value, then it's permissible for the person to take it and use it. That's the first type, barakallahu feekum. Is that clear, barakallahu feekum? The second, الثاني الحيوان الذي يمتنع بنفسه من الصغار السباع كالإبل والخيل. So the second now is the حيوان, is the animal which is able to defend itself and repel any threat of a smaller predator. So animals such as the ibil, the camel, or the horse, and the like of that. So with that, this particular commodity, as Ibn Qudāmah mentions, فَلَا يَجُوزُ أَخْذُهَا. It's not permissible to take it. So not permissible to take this particular commodity. لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سئل عن ضالة الإبل فقال ما لك ولها دعها معها حذاؤها وسقاؤها ترد الماء وتأكل الشجر حتى يأتيها ربها. And so the proof for that is the hadith which found in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the camel which had gone, and he'd gone astray essentially, that had gone off the path from its owner. And the Nabi ﷺ mentioned, what business of yours? Now, what is it of concern to you in relation to it? Rather, what the person does is take it, water, I give it this water, feed it from over a tree until its owner returns. Now, and so Ibn Qudāmah goes on to mention, من أخذها لم يملكه ولزم ضمانه. And so whoever takes it, then it's not their property. So whoever takes it, for example, they see the camel has gone off the path, off a particular path, and it's not clear who owns that camel. Now, whoever takes it, it's not their property. Now, and it's a must that the person holds it as the guarantee. And they wait to either return it to its owner or to the Na'ib al-Imam. I doubt the individual that is the individual that is representative of the Imam, the leader. So he does not take it due to the fact that this animal obviously has a particular owner. Generally speaking, you will find that, especially with the ibil, with the camels, in a lot of the lands, they're easily identified. And so this is not usually the same case that would occur. They don't know why. Camel is it's more easily identified now. This time we live in now. Now the markings, they place markers on the camel. They don't know why as well. To identify it, of course, to know who the camel is, but also why. Something a bit more of a legal reason. No, because of blood money. Because of why would I pay blood money? For what scenario? But why would you need to pay blood money? No. Oh no, not necessarily that. I thought you meant something else. There's another reason. No. So if the person is responsible for the camel and where the camel goes, if that camel now, for example, wanders onto the road and causes the death, that camel causes the death of individuals, then in that scenario, the person who owns the camel is responsible for that. And thus, that's why I meant blood money, then the diya as well, the blood money. So now, for the reason in relation to the janayat, when it comes to a person, for example, owning a camel, then they are responsible for whatever that camel does. So if that camel now wanders onto the road and causes the death of an individual, then that particular action, because of course the person, the owner of the camel, he is responsible for the camel's the actions if the camel wanders off. it's his responsibility to make sure the camel is in a secure place that is not going to bring harm to others. And thus, the reality is as well that this used to happen quite often, especially in Saudi anyway. It used to happen quite often, where people used to have crashes with camels, collide with camels. So of course, if the road is dark and the camel's wandered into the road, the person driving is not going to see the camel until the last minute. The person's not going to see the camel until the last minute. And so either he crashes into the camel, and the camel, usually what happens with the camel is that if it crashes, the way its legs are, that if the car crashes into the legs, the camel will land on top of the vehicle. Usually crush the inhabitants of the vehicle. Or what may happen as well, if the person sees it last minute, it may swerve out of the way and crash in that manner as well. And this was the manner in which was the death of Shaykh Abdul Salam al-Burjis, raḥimahullāh. It's the same thing. He mentioned he saw something in the road, a camel in the road. And this is how this is the mu'amala with that particular commodity. So this animal, the larger animal. Then we have the third. We have the third. ما تكثر قيمته من الأثمان والمتاع والحيوان الذي لم يمتنع من صغار السباع. And so we have that which is either the commodity that has a larger amount, a larger barakallahu feekum, a larger value. So whether it be, for example, coins and the likes of that, or haywan, an animal which is not able to defend itself from the smaller predators. فيجوز أخذه ويجب تعريفه حولا في مجامع الناس كالأسواق وأبواب المساجد. And so, in this scenario, if it's this particular thing, then it's permissible to take it. You can take it, and then you advertise or you announce that you have it in your possession. So you put it up, you announce it in places. So you put up signs, for example, in the places where the people gather. So Ibn Qudāmah mentions the example of the aswaq, the marketplaces, or he mentions the abwāb al-masajid, the doors to the masajid, places where the people are going to enter and see. So you announce that you have this in your possession, to seek to try and find out who is the rightful owner of that commodity. فمتى جاء طالبه فمتى جاء طالبه فوصفه دفع إليه بغير بينة. So when the person now, either the owner comes and he makes it clear that this is his property, and he describes it, then it is given to him without the need of any proof. It's given to him without the need of any proof. And so the proof of that is the hadith of Zayd ibn Khalid al-Juḥānī, where he mentions that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, su'ila Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was asked about the luqaṭah of dhahab, yani gold, or the commodity, the money. And so he mentions, yani, identify its rightful owner. ثم عرفها سنة. And so when it comes to this owner, you seek out that owner for a period of a year. And if he does not come forward, so if he's not known, then it is your property. However, if the person, the owner, comes to you within a day within that year, then return it to him. I return it to him. And so this is the case in relation to this particular wealth. This particular wealth. So the person should take it and make it clear that he has taken it. Now make it clear that he has taken it. So just to recap, barakallahu feekum, if something is lost, what is done with it? If something is lost, what is done with it? So that's the first thing, jazakallah khair. Depends on what is lost. So if it's of low value, it's permissible for you to take it. Nah, it's permissible for you to take it. Of course, when they say low value, barakallahu feekum, then we know this is something which is relative. It's something which is relative. Yeah, based on time and place. Someone that might be considered something to be low value, or something which is maybe low value here in the UK, maybe not be low value in another land, for example. Nah. Or something that is low value in this time that we live in now, in the 1446, may not have been low value 100 years ago, for example. Nah. So it's dependent. So our next category, the animal. Those two types of animal though. So which was the first one you're going to mention? The camel. What was the darbit? What was the particular description of those animals that meant that they shared? Now, that is able to defend itself from smaller predators. Yeah, smaller predators. And what is done with that? With those animals, it's forbidden to take them and give to the one in command. Now, if it comes to that, obviously, first and foremost, you try to give it back to its owner. If not, then it's given to those that are representing the ruler. Now, and the third, now, valuable items, and what is on the valuable items? It's announced. And where do you announce it? So, marketplace is an example of what though? Where the people gather. Now, so a place where you find the people gathering. What happens after the year? No, you can keep it. And that call enters into same ruling, same category now. Thereafter as well, yeah, just mentioned it now. Now, so that enters into that third category, the animal that can't protect itself from the smaller predators. So it's the same thing. It's regarded as being that you take it and you announce that you have that animal. No. And if, for example, the owner doesn't come, then it's yours. When it's mentioned, the ruling mentions it's yours, it means it's yours to do with it which you wish. You can keep it or you can sell it. Larger value and these smaller animals as well, or these animals that can't. No, a jacket, for example, yeah. This is something regardless of being something larger value. But let's say, for example, a pencil, you don't have to announce that you have someone's pencil. Or something with lower value. No.
What about an animal that can't defend itself, but it's high in value, like a cow?
It can't defend itself. No, the cow would enter into the animal that can defend itself. If you have a small predator, for example, what's the example of a small predator? Fox, maybe. Maybe something that gets smaller than that. Yeah, cat, even. The cat and the cow. What's going to win? Allah knows best, but it's probably going to be the cow. No. So the cow enters into that larger animal. No. Wallah alam. So thereafter we have a chapter discussing يعني al-laqīṭ. And the laqīṭ is referring to the tifl manbūth. Now, the tifl, the child that has been displaced and lost. So the child has been displaced and lost. وهو, as the author says, وهو محكوم بحريته وإسلامه. And he takes the ruling of being a free individual and an individual upon Islam. Now, individual upon Islam. And this is referring, of course, if you've come across the child in the Dar al-Islam. Now, so you come across the child in the land of Islam. Because this is the Sawad al-A'zam. This is the majority. وما وجد عنده من المال فهو له. And whatever he possesses from wealth, from money, then it is his possession. So see, for example, you find a child and the child has some form of wealth with it. Now, the person now cannot now take the child and say that the money is theirs. That money belongs to the child. That money belongs to the child. Now, likewise as well, anything. So when we mention wealth, it doesn't necessarily mean just money, but anything of value. So anything of the value that the child has in his possession at the time that it's found, then this is in relation to, this is regarded as being in his possession. So this is an example of that would be if he's wearing particular garments. Those garments are his possession. Or if that child has jewelry upon it. Now the child has jewelry, then that jewelry is the possession of the child. Or for example, you find the child and is sitting upon a particular mat or carpet. Now, whatever is placed upon, then that is also the possession of the child. Is that clear, barakallahu feekum? So all of this is regarded as being what is the possession of the child. As for the wali and the wilaya, the guardianship of that child, then the guardianship returns back to the one who found the child. Whoever found the child, then they are the wali of that child. They have the wilayah. Ibn Qudāmah raḥimahullah, he mentions in relation to the one that found the child and they now have the wilayah. This is على الشرط on the condition إذا كان مسلما عدلا. If this individual is Muslim and they are trustworthy. Naam, if they are Muslim and they are trustworthy. As for infaq, as for the paying for that child, now as for the child being paid for, فهذا يرجع إلى بيت المال. نعم. إن لم يكن معه ما ينفق عليه. If there's nothing with him that is used to pay for him, so there's no wealth that can be used to pay for him, then it's the Bayt al-Mal. It's the Bayt al-Mal. Bayt al-Mal referring to what, barakallahu fikum? The treasury of that Muslim land. Now, the treasury of that Muslim land. So it's important here, barakallahu fikum, to distinguish between the two. Because the wilayah, the guardianship, is the guardianship of who? Who is the guardian of that child? The one who found it. However, the responsibility of infaq, the responsibility of paying and spending upon that child is not upon the wali, but the wali amr, now, the state and the treasury. Because generally speaking, if we're discussing the matter of al-wilayah, guardianship upon those who the guardian is responsible for, then from those responsibilities is that wali yunfiq alayh. From the responsibility generally mentioned is that the wali spends upon those he is responsible for. So, for example, the wali of a particular woman, for example, the wali, he's a wali of his daughter. He's also responsible to spend upon her. Or the man which is the wali of his wife, he's responsible to spend upon her. He's their guardian. But in this regard, this child's been found and he's taken them in as their guardian. So he's responsible for them. He's taking responsibility of them. However, as for the payment, and the spending upon that child and the fulfilling the child's needs, financially, then that returns back to the state. That turns back to the wali al-amr, essentially. Barakallahu feekum. And then, as is mentioned, in relation to the mirath, or in relation to the nisbah, the nasab, then whoever claims that they are related to this child, then that child is ascribed to them. Whoever who claims relation to that child, that child is ascribed to him. Now, and so this, as some of the scholars they mentioned, this is in relation to if the person is Muslim or not. When the person is Muslim or not. Muslim kan or kafir. Nasaba ilayhi. And so this is in relation to the lineage. So now, as Qudāmah mentions, if it's a kafir, يتبعه nasaban wala dinan. So if now, for example, the kafir lays claim to this child, for example, then that child is ascribed to this kafir individual in terms of ascription, lineage, but not deen. Now, so as we understood from that is the child is not handed over to the non-Muslim individual, so that child now could follow the deen of that non-Muslim. but it's ascribed to them. Is that clear, barakallahu fikum? Naam. Why? Because it is not permissible, as mentioned here by Ibn Qudāmah, فَلَا يَزُولُ ذَلِكَ بِدَعْوَى الْكَافِرِ. So this is not now just removed just by the claim of the kafir. And the kafir claiming that he has ownership or he has lineage to the individual, this is not now allowed for the person to now take the child. Now, and so the child is not given to that non-Muslim in that particular regard. Allah Ta'ala knows best. And we'll conclude with that, barakallahu feekum. Wa jazakum Allahu khaira. And we'll conclude with that, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum, jazakum Allahu khaira. Wa sallallahu wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Naam. Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In terms of the value being low or high, you mentioned that is objective.
Yes.
What about how it's viewed by the person themselves? Or what one person might view a lot of people in the same level might not necessarily be what another person.
A lot of these things will be based upon the urf and not something which is nisbi to the individual, but nisbi basically it will be relative to the urf of the people, so to the custom of the people, and not to the person's personal custom and what they regard as being valuable. Because sometimes a person may value something, but it's not generally understood in the custom of the people to be valuable. So it goes back to that generally. Wallah. No.
What if the person who found him, he doesn't want that? He doesn't want to keep the kid.
I take responsibility.
Yeah.
As we lie. Then he's responsible. So he's responsible also to find someone that can assume that responsibility, if that makes sense. So once he's found the child, he's responsible for the child. Now responsible. If for example he cannot now continue that responsibility for whatever reason, circumstantial, then upon him is to find someone that can continue that responsibility. But essentially, what cannot be done is that he leaves the child to fend for itself. No. So if for whatever reason his circumstances don't allow for him to continue that responsibility, but he has to seek out the one that can assume the responsibility, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum.
What's the age for the child? How do we?
So any sabi, so any child that has not which referring to the tifl is any child that has not reached puberty. Now, so any of the signs of puberty that haven't begun, then they're regarded as being a child. So Islamically, when we're talking about the child, then we're talking about the sabi, the one that is not baligh. No, barakallahu feekum. No.
A lot of the concepts that we obviously talk about in the land of Islam, I've seen also before, but how does someone know if a land is considered
Islamic land? From doubt. So, in relation to the lands of the Muslims, then first and foremost, it would return back to whether the rulers of that land are from the Muslims. Now, the rulers of the land are from the Muslims, and it's not necessarily reliant upon the inhabitants of that land. But if the ruler is Muslim, and there's a degree of Islam or Islam or the deen of Islam can be upheld within that land, and it's baris, so it's apparent the deen of Islam. So, for example, a person hears the adhan, and he's able to establish his deen in that land, and his ruler is a Muslim. This is what we would regard as being a Muslim land. The reason why I mentioned specifically the Walid Amr, the ruler, because you may find that the ruler is upon a different religion to the majority of the citizens of that land. An example of that is Bahrain. Bahrain, for example, the ruler is Sunni, but the majority of the inhabitants are Shia. But we would not say that Bahrain is a Shia land. So it's a Sunni country. And the ruler established that upon the Sunnah. Wallahu a'lam. No.
If the country is a country ruled by democracy,
Mhm.
where you might have a Muslim ruler for 4 years or 8 years, and then a Christian ruler for 4 years, does it change the deep order?
Not necessarily, because if the constitution of that land is just based upon solely upon democracy, and it's a case of it opens the door for any individual to rule it, then it wouldn't now say that this is the land of the Muslims. For example, the ruler of London is Muslim, for example. I wouldn't now say London is a Muslim city, for example. Because the constitution found within that land opens the door for whoever to enter into it, whether they make nisbah to Islam or other than Islam. It's not a case of that from the tenants of that land, irrespective of if they pick their rule upon democracy or not, but from the tenants of that land, is that they know that there has to be established upon Islam. Now, there's other lands, for example, where they may have democracy, they may have presidents and whatever else, but they know that the ruler has to be Muslim, for example. This is different from the other. Wallah. Barakallahu feekum.
Said how the countries that are ruled by non-Muslims, they have certain regions where the Shia of Islam are dominant. They've got Muslim population.
No.
permanent.
No.
Would that part, that region, would that be considered?
It all depends. So it all depends on how the land is made up. So, for example, a clear example of that would be like Nigeria, where if you go to the north, it's predominantly Muslim, and they have states there which are predominantly Muslims, Muslim rulers, and there always be Muslim rulers, for example. And then if you go further south, it's more either mixed, Muslim sometimes, Christian sometimes, or it's always Christian, or whatever the case may be, depending on the state. It all depends upon with this, and Allah Ta'ala knows best what the constitution is in that land. So whether it's a case of in that land, if you have a president of the whole land, for example, if he can overrule the Muslim ruler, then you wouldn't say that land is a Muslim land, even though in that area it's predominantly Muslim. You wouldn't now say that it's a Muslim land. Why? Because there's another individual that can overrule whatever rules that he comes with. But if now that's not the case, and it's generally there's a lot of what they call devolution. So that particular ruling or ruler can rule upon whatever laws he wishes to, and there's no one that can really what's the word? Yeah, override essentially those rules on those laws that he comes with. Then you could just consider that region to be a Muslim region. Allah Ta'ala knows best. So it all depends upon what is the final details of the rulings of that land. For example, if we were to look at America made up of all these different states. Naam. The federal system now, exactly. But now, if, for example, the one state wants to make some particular laws that are found within their state, the state of New York, for example, that can be overruled, of course, by the ruling government of that time. So then that wouldn't now say that New York could be a Muslim and or Michigan. Allah. No.
Now time, regardless of whether it's a Muslim country or a Muslim country, would it be sufficient if a person found a lost kid and just handed him over to the police?
So would it be sufficient if they handed him to the police?
Regardless of whether it's a Muslim.
Because of particular laws in different lands, then generally speaking, because the things are more centralized and they have more authorities that deal with whatever needs are you find with the particular land, then this would be the best course of action, that you hand them over to the authorities, whether it be the police or other than that. This is due to the fact that in the scenario that you don't, then of course it's not possible. It's not possible that, for example, the person says, "I found this child in so and so place, and I'm just going to look after that child for now." No, because obviously you have a lot of questions to answer in a few years' time. So reality is that the way that the system has been set up is that you would have to hand over that child before, in order to fulfill or remove any harm upon yourself as well. No, barakallahu feekum. No.
Did you mention anything about trying to find, for example, the parents or the guardians of the child? And you say you just went straight to that to find them.
Yeah, to be honest, because we're talking about, there's absolutely no sign of, no indication of how you're going to find that child's parents. You just found the child. Mm. You could do something maybe similar, but at the same time, generally speaking, you wouldn't be able to. It'd be difficult to kind of advertise that I have a child that I found my felon. Do you know what I mean? But of course, you would still strive to try and if you can find any means of trying to find that particular parent, then you would do so, or someone that is ascribed to that child, then you would do so. Hence, why it mentions that someone that lays claim to that child, then they are ascribed to that child. Now, because that is through that process, or that's a result of that process of trying to find, anyone that is ascribed to the child. No.
Going back to the animals, for example, the one that could not protect itself from a predator, is that then upon you to sort of look after the animal, or could you leave that, or is it upon you to sort of?
No, you have to take it and look after it, and until
that's your responsibility.
To some extent, yeah. Same thing as well. If you can't take responsibility, it's upon you to find someone that can take responsibility of it, inshallah. No. Barakallahu feekum. No.
The 1 year announcement, you mentioned the Rasul how do we reconcile between that and the contribution of the announcement?
That's why he mentioned Abwab al-Masajid and not in the Masajid. So you don't make announcements within the Masajid. But so basically, the point being is that it's done in a place where it will be seen by the people, where it will catch the eyes of the people. So it's not done within the Masajid, but at the Abwab al-Masajid, so outside the Masajid, but where it will be seen. No. Anything that's public and where essentially you have the expectation that people will see it. No.
Even with a small valuable item, is that upon you found it? Take that and advertise it, or
the low value?
Not like the high value.
Yeah. So the high value.
Yeah. Is that on you to take that, and then you should?
Yeah. So you take it, advertise, and so announce that this is where it is. You have it, wherever. If you don't hear anything, it's your property now.
Let's say you blame whether if you didn't take that and actually try and find it.
Are you blameworthy if you
didn't take it and, for example, post it for people to?
You cannot take it, but if you do take it, in the scenario you do take it, but someone's gonna have to take it eventually. No. And if you don't take it here, someone will take it. So it's very better to take it. Allah. No.
Would it be allowed to leave it?
You can leave it. You can leave it. Especially if you feel like, for example, if you're gonna leave it, you expect that whoever lost it is gonna come back to it. Then you can leave it, inshallah. No. But if it's the expectation that it may go missing, or there may be it may perish of whatever or in whatever form, then you can take it. No, you're able to take it.
What's the limitation on that? How close it needs to be to when you find it? Like if I find something here in the masjid, obviously advertising it in London is not going to do much. is there like
How close? Not necessarily. No, it's not about really how close, but where. It's all about what your expectation of where the most amount of people would see it. You understand? So you found something in Cheetham Hill, then you put it in all them anywhere at Cheetham Hill, really. For example, so because you'd expect that whoever lost it will come across it somewhere where you put it up, and then you take it from there. Allah. Barakallahu feekum. خير. والله يا اخوان بارك الله فيكم وصلى الله وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم.